So when I submitted this session about the idea for this session about 3 months ago, well, Viva was pretty new then, and I kind of to be honest, winged it a bit that I would have something around champions, but I kind of knew that I kind of would by the time we got to this date. But since then, an awful lot has come out about Viva, and there's still so much more to come out. So it's not going to be so much about champions, because I have learned a lot more since I've been genning up on running Microsoft-funded workshops. So there is stuff at the end about champions, but I will be developing, and others will be developing a lot more about champion networks. So just an introduction of about who I am, in case you don't know me. So I've been 5 years as an adoption change management consultant, and I'm very proud to say I've been 5 years an MVP, and it's come out. I started off as in the Yammer space, and my focus is end user adoption. But prior to that, I worked for over 20 years, kind of like God, I'm really old, in the at GSK in corporate communications, managing employee events, managing recognition programs, creating loads and loads of SharePoint sites, and nurturing Yammer across the enterprise. But in here, my inner child, so what I kind of named myself over that period of this long period of my career is that I've been a front page witch, Microsoft front page, a web witch. I've been queen of email distribution lists at GSK. I was the fax machine freedom fighter, getting out of file shares. I mean, I'm that old. Has anyone not used a fax machine in this room, sort of thing? But I used to be an executive secretary, and my boss was he was like the right hand man to the managing director at the time, going through mergers of Glaxo Wellcome, SmithKline, everything. And I used to spend hours just sitting at the fax machine, trying to get through these major committee documents to India, to America, to Australia. And then I used to get this, suddenly, you heard this noise in the corner of the room, and you'd look over and it went, NG, no go. And I'd be like, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock at night, and I'm still trying to get these documents through. So we went through a situation where we had, I think it was the Boston Consulting Group came in, BCG, and one of the guys said to me, there's these file shares, and ask your IT guys to open one up for you, and then you can chuck your files in there and go home. And I was like, so I was one of the first ones in that company to request a file share, and that was astonishing that you just had to send out a note, and then on the other side of the world, they could pick up the documents. So I've also been a SharePoint mother, because back then it was SharePoint. I mean, SharePoint's amazing now. Back then it was. It's a lot better than it was. But then I went on to be. I got a postgraduate degree with the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. Then I went on and did a lot of Six Sigma studies at GSK as part of the job there. I was working in manufacturing on the production lines, doing communications, so I picked up a lot about Six Sigma. Then I became a Yammer Nana, and then I've got my MVP status, and then I've moved into being what I like to think of at the time was a woman in tech suffragette sort of thing. So I felt like I was an MVP, but I was talking about user adoption. My background's not technical, so I felt like I had an imposter syndrome. What are you doing here? So that's been kind of quite a big deal for me as well. But now I feel like I'm a Viva visionary. But the other thing that I've struggled with, and I've talked to the girls here in front of me about it earlier, from Donna's session about mental health. I've realised I have a mental health issue that I've never really talked about before, but there's something that Microsoft have developed that have helped me over the last 18 months with my confidence around presenting at home, and then being able to do sessions like this, and that's PowerPoint Live, which is basically kind of like what I'm doing now here, but if I was in a Teams meeting I'd see all the people in there as well. But my mental health issue is actually grinding my teeth. This is a big deal for me, to the point where I've caused myself such stress that I'm doing it all the time, and everything I've joked about and coming along to sessions like this, the build up to presenting has actually made it worse. But I'm finding now that I have to wear a retainer on my teeth to protect my teeth. And I have to take that out and deal with it and clean my teeth all the time, and that causes me more stress. And I've never talked about it before like this, but it was Donna's session this morning that's given me the realisation that I have a mental health issue, but it's like, it's not that bad, it's all right, but it's like, it's demons in my own head. But the fact that I've come this far, and PowerPoint Live has actually given me confidence that I can see my notes, so it's helping me sleep better before doing a session like this. So I just thought I'd share it, because it's a small group here, and it's a big deal for me to talk about this with my bloody thing in my mouth. So anyway, let's dive into this. So I just want to say thank you, huge thanks to our sponsors that have made it possible to bring this event to this beautiful, look at this venue that we're at, so at the weekend. So what I'm going to go into now on the agenda is give you kind of like an overview of what you might have already heard about the introduction to Viva. So the first couple of slides are the official Microsoft slides that are in the funded workshops, just to kind of give you a little bit of flavour on it. And then I've added in my own unique content around kind of like the visionary business benefits, and also thinking about who the champions are once this starts to get picked up in your business. And we're looking at, this is a journey, this is not a sprint. We know Viva will probably take quite a few years, as did Microsoft Teams 3 years ago, as did Yammer, that's nearly died, and now it's come back, and it's now sitting in Connections. So this is very new, what we're hearing, and we just need to give it good time to let it bake in. So we've got... So we've heard about, in the keynote this morning, there's 3 dimensions of a hybrid workplace. It's not a totally new concept, but what it means is it's when people have a flexible location, a real office location, and flexible working hours, and assumes a mix of these flexible work styles. And every organisation will have a unique approach in line with their HR policies, which is appropriate for their people culture and for their business. So the one thing we learned early in the pandemic is having a single collaboration tool where everyone can meet, chat, call, collaborate, and automate their business processes is key to keeping people connected and productive. And Teams has become critical to ensuring we continue to work together. And that new statistics that's come out recently around 250 million monthly active users is a real testament to its success. So it's from knowledge or information workers at home or in the office to the frontline retail staff or manufacturing staff on shifts. So think of Teams as that lens to enable people to collaborate faster, better, and easier. And so, this is just this one slide is the continuing kind of spiel from Microsoft. Then I go into to my own content, but I just wanted to position this accurately for you. So, Microsoft Viva brings together communications, insights, and knowledge and learning within the flow of everyday work and collaboration through lens of Teams. Teams is where most remote and hybrid work happens these days. It becomes a hub where we can bring all these resources together into an integrated system of engagement. With M365, we already have capabilities like Yammer, SharePoint, Stream, Workplace Analytics, Microsoft Search, LinkedIn, Glint, and more. And Viva builds on this by adding new services and insights focused on people development and success. And the 4 modules are, we've got Connections, which is a company-branded employee app. in Teams, and I've actually got that working on my phone from where I work at Simity. The app is, I think that's the game changer. It's all very well having connections on your desktop, but I think the game changer is actually having it on your phone, and you can use it for anywhere. You can get to all your your company resources and get your company news and see those Yammer conversations. So it provides a single curated employee destination that can be configured for specific roles, like frontline workers, so leaders can communicate and engage with employees. Then you've got topics, which focuses on knowledge and expertise. Topics applies AI to identify knowledge and experts and organise them into shared topics. Then you've got learning, which allows employees to easily discover informal learning in the flow of their work. It aggregates content from LinkedIn Learning, Microsoft Learn, third-party training, and other organisations. And then you've got the this new piece around insights, which is bringing together workplace analytics, My Analytics, and Glint. So as I said on the slide, the connections is a real focus now for corporate communications like they've never known before. There's all this tech that goes on, but this is now really nice positioned and specific, something which is focused really for corporate comms to push out. Then you've got the focus for topics, which is for knowledge and information workers, and then you've got Viva Learning and Viva Insights, which is really useful for HR and organisational development, and of course IT. So that's kind of like the spiel from Microsoft. But were you aware that this week there's potentially the 5th module, which is Ally, or does anyone know how to pronounce this?
Ali.
Yeah.
Ali.io.
But I mean ally, friend, isn't it? So, and .io, and that's this new thing, which I think we all ended up Googling around what are OKRs, and I ended up writing back on Kevin's post saying that Okie Kokie or Peter Rising, I think it was, I said, he's going, what's an OKR? And I said, found out a little bit going, Okie Kokie, and turn yourself around and all that. So, but it's about, the way I read it is that you are how to track and align your own personal development to the organisational objectives and KPIs in an organisation, and I think that's right, that's the missing piece out of all of this, and it was really quite inspiring and to see that coming into play. So, excuse me, where's my water? So, can you see it? Thank you very much. So, part of what I do over the last couple of years, when I was working with the guys at Reed, 2 ladies here, I was doing a little bit of work with them, and we were looking at, we do some work at when I was at Mint Tulip around persona profiling. So I like to kind of like position kind of like current state, pain points and challenges, and look at future state, and that's what I've kind of done with Viva. Excuse me. So from hearing kind of like where we are now with hybrid working and where we're going, so I've looked at kind of like themed it around 5 areas of business benefits. So I've put it down to things that help me focus, improve my productivity, easy to reach shared content, quick access to company content, and provides a great work-life balance. And so I'm going to go through each of the 4 modules, and I'm going to pull out kind of like 3 statements for each one, and just to see kind of like, do you feel that's quite true, that rings true, and then thinking about how Viva can actually provide a business benefit over that pain point or challenge. So if I look at the first one, which is the visionary benefit for, so at the moment we have employee engagement, which is the current state, and then we're going into connections, which is the future state. So on here we've got someone is saying, it would be great if I could access meaningful work, news and conversations in real time from my personal mobile apps like I can on Facebook and LinkedIn. The way I work feels so outdated. So, you know, you guys at Reed, I mean, how do you feel about that statement?
I think it definitely was. We're definitely using Yammer and all the other companies because you have got that likeness to things like Facebook. So where you've got social networking in your personal life, it's much easier to train that when people already do it on a day-to-day at home. So it links in that way.
So with for connections, so the benefit here is I now have secure company content relevant to my role, delivered on my mobile, working on the go, up to date and instant, like social media. So that's the easier to reach shared content. So the next one is I work in comms and spent a lot of effort and money on our old intranet app, but it has frustrating limitations. So the idea here is we rolled out global navigation and connections together in the mobile experience via Teams, and staff love it, and that's quick access to company content. And then the third kind of like pain point and challenge here for employee engagement was I enjoy working from home but feel less connected to the business, this time of from when we were in the pandemic. So the future state here is now happily working from home in communities and dealing with priorities in my dedicated employee feed. So it's given me a great work-life balance. So the next idea here of the pain point for what is at the moment knowledge management going into what is topics is I just joined the company and I don't know who has the right information or how to find it fast. So here with topics is as I am working, I hover over unusual words like acronyms and find helpful content and experts immediately, and it helps me focus. And with the pain point, the next pain point here is I know my expertise and knowledge will be lost when I leave after 15 years, and that's really demoralising. So those long, people that have been in the organisation a long time, just to think they're going to leave, and all that tacit knowledge is going to go out the window. But now with topics, it can be captured. So I'm now a subject matter expert and share my somewhat tacit company knowledge that will remain when I leave. So that's quick access to company content for other colleagues that are coming in. And then we've got the final one here is I'm not encouraged to share my knowledge as it's viewed as showing off. This was actually said to me by that's the view from people that work in the DWP, Kevin.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I won't swear.
So that was actually said to me by that was the feeling of that culture before they went into we pulled them over at Simity and started the team story that's been a great success. So here we go. I mentioned this in a session this morning with Steve Crompton, and he mentioned it as well. So I now work out loud. I share my knowledge with a view. Others might find it helpful, and others might help me improve my work, which creates a great work-life balance. And then we've got learning. So I find it time-consuming, monitoring and assigning my team's training activities, as well as getting my own work done. So that's someone that's managing a team of people. And she's now saying, I recommend and track learning for my team's personal development, send them links to training in conversation, and that helps me focus. And then the next one is, I don't have time for learning activities outside my mandatory training, but I feel extremely satisfied that learning new skills is regarded as part of my working day and it's improved my productivity. And then the last one here is, there are many LMS systems across different platforms, so I don't often know where to go for the right content. And now with learning on Viva, it's the Teams app, I view and register for LinkedIn Learning, find loads of great third-party training on Microsoft Learn and our own company content, so it's easy to reach shared content. And then with Insights, I suffer with anxiety and often affects my sleep and detrimental to my health. With encouragement from my manager, I use Headspace meditation app and virtual commute to have some downtime in between work, and that helps me focus. And then I work in HR, and I outsourced annual staff survey takes weeks, if not months, to collate, and sharing is very, very expensive. And we now, so with Insights, we now have access to cascade corporate wide plans to improve wellbeing, from tools with data sources to perform deeper analysis, address complex challenges and respond quickly to culture, not waiting for that once a year temperature check that is just pretty useless really. And then the final one here, guys, is as a leader I feel we do not have mechanisms in place to regularly or easily measure the degree of engagement with our brand, products, vision or culture. But I now have data-driven visibility into how patterns affect well-being, productivity and business performance. So it's quick access to company content. So that was a little bit dry for you, so I'm sorry about that, but it is kind of trying to get across kind of like where we are now with pain points and challenges and how slow you can be to react to what's going on in your company. But now with these new modules, you've got access to tap into, you know, some really powerful data. So
Lesley, I think it's a really good way actually of sort of bite-sized chunks that you can pass to your champions, which I'm sure you'll get onto.
yeah,
You know, when you're wanting people to do that informal communication for you, and you know you can give them the briefing
yeah,
in plain English, which is it's quite a nice way.
yeah. And I'm giving it here, you know, with the 4 modules, but often this is going to be in many organisations picking up on Viva. They might just go with talking to someone last week. They just want to go with learning, and then there's, you know, others might just want to do the connections piece. So I've actually got more of these statements, the current state and the future state. I only actually went with like 3 of the best at the moment, but it is going to build up in time, the little database that I've got. So just looking at kind of like knowledge in itself that's inside an organisation. So this is like kind of like a business knowledge funnel, and we've got here what's explicit knowledge and tacit knowledge. And on here I've got, I'm thinking that explicit knowledge is sitting in teams, and that's learning and insights. And then you've got the tacit knowledge, which is Yammer, and that's where connections and topics, have I said that right? Yeah, learning and insights is tacit, and then connections and topics is the explicit knowledge, which is hard to capture. So Teams is great for, because the back end of Teams is SharePoint, so it's kind of like, usually in Teams you're talking either about a document or you're attending a meeting, but with tacit knowledge, that's the stuff that goes on outside the meeting usually. But now with you know, the likes of Yammer and that being more conversational, it's something that can be kind of like in the moment, and you don't have to wait for you know, the next meeting. It's something you can talk about sort of like immediately, but equally you can do that in conversations and chat as well, in Teams as well. But I just thought it'd be just an interesting way to look at how to split out the modules as well into kind of like how business knowledge kind of like aggregates. And then I did another little exercise. I went back to, who's never seen the where to start a conversation slide? Has everyone seen? Is this familiar to everyone?
Yeah.
So it goes back, what, about 3 years ago? So I did a little exercise here again of where Viva sits on this, this was such a revelation, I think, for at that time at Ignite 3-4 years ago when this came out. This was so helpful for many of us to position where SharePoint sits, where Teams is now sitting when it was launched, and how Yammer has still got a place. So again on here I've put that learning and insights is basically what I see the inner loop, and then we've got connections and topics, which is that culture piece, which is the outer loop, and then positioned the new piece, potentially the 5th module, on the inner loop side of the model. But inside of all of that, you've still got SharePoint, and Outlook is still being there. You still need Outlook to get all your alerts and notifications that are coming off of all of this stuff. So I'd lead on to, as I promised, that the title of the session was Champions. So as far as I've got with this at the moment, and this is my 3rd iteration of Champions. So the original one was Yammer Champions a couple of years ago, and then I did a version for DWP when I was working with Kevin at Simity, and I created the Teams Champions, and now again I've looked at it again. So we've got kind of like potentially for connections and topics where you're going to need your champions, because Learn is basically, as I said, HR, and Insights is kind of HR and IT. So I feel like you need to build up your champion programs to create that huge amount of content by the experts in the company, and the people that are, you know, want to tell their stories around using Yammer, and so you're going to need people behind you to be driving and building up these elements of Viva, where the likes of Insights and Learning, they will be kind of, they're just, you know, you don't really need the people in the company to be driving that, just need to really be there, sort of thing. So I've put on here again, we've got the, for connections and topics, you need your astronauts, and they go where no employee has gone before. They're basically working out loud, so they're sharing their knowledge with a view that it might help others, but equally others might be able to help them make something better with the work that they're doing. It's kind of that virtuous circle that, you know, like I'm sharing this now, but equally I hope with my colleagues they can help me improve this model as time goes on, as we know more and more about Viva. And it's that idea of serendipity as well, of sparking new ideas, and that, you know, in that collaborative way of working. And then just going on again, we've got sports fans who promote a healthy hybrid workplace. They like awarding gifts and emojis and acknowledging people's conversations. So you need that in connections, you need that on Teams. Then you've got reporters. We're all reporters. We've all got brilliant cameras on our phones. We're all, you know, at this event, user-generated content. You know, the comms can't control anymore the proliferation of great stories that are coming out, the grassroots stories, and that's qualitative and quantitative as well, and storytelling. So then we go into, I'm calling like the detectives and the librarians. This is the kind of the newer piece for Viva, the Viva piece going forward for topics. So you're going to need your detectives who are there finding information that might not be easily accessible, and you've also got your librarians, the keepers and disseminators of information. So the type of people here that will really make topics, build it up, and then it will be built on again by artificial intelligence, are your knowledge and information workers. So they are the depending on type of company you're in, you're going to have engineers, pharmacists, accountants, architects, consultants, like some of us in the room, lawyers, physicians, scientists, and financial analysts. They're going to be the type of people that are going to be building up your topic areas. So if I just feed back to where I started at the beginning, and as Kevin said, you know, bringing all of this together and delivering this to build up those champion networks, you can focus on the fact of this, the business benefits of all of this is it's going to help me focus better, it's going to improve my productivity, there's easy to reach shared content now, it's quick access to company content, and it's going to be a great work-life balance, better than it was before, and that can only be good, that can only make people happier and want to stay with an organisation longer. So the final slide I think I've got is, I was just thinking like, what have we got now without Viva? We've got kind of like this messy kind of, you know, inside and out kind of mess that's going on. But with Viva, it's kind of a bit more cleaned up. I see it kind of more that way. And then I've got in the corner like the power platform in the corner. But potentially that's the visionary view that I see going from where we are now, our current state on the left, and hopefully over the next couple of years we'll have a much simpler kind of operating platform through the lens of Teams. So, but if you aren't aware already, Microsoft are offering funded workshops. There's 700 slides that I've been privy to, and I've spent the last last 2 months prepping to run those workshops. There's 4 of them. This is just scraping the icing on the cake potentially of what is coming. So if anyone's interested, let me know, and can give you lots more information about it. And that's the end of the talk.